It's cold. Bathroom.
After a long day of driving, this part of the trip was so much fun, where basically just everyone just got to hang out in this little lounge area in the hotel. We played games, ate pizza, and also we explored the city, but I didn't get to record a lot of that. But this part was so fun. I cannot tell you, just connecting with people. So, by the way, these are all the people I played Monopoly with.
Day 2.
Offices, that building a little further down, which sort of looked like an old castle-like building, was the old executive offices, and they built it. This is H Street, so the White House is going to be coming up on the right, right on the other side of LaFont Park.
The tree's not busting us right now, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so the White House has a north side and a south side. They don't have like a front and a back. This is the north side.
I just be taking a picture.
Oh, okay. They also had a farm where they grew vegetables, so he went into catering, went to Europe, and he first had a catering business and then opened that hotel. It was a popular hotel. It was before the Blair House, so if you were here to see the president or anything, that's where you normally would stay. It had 6 floors, one of the first in D.C. to have a telephone, and also one of the first in D.C. to have an elevator. He eventually died, his sons took it over, and then they sold it to somewhere else that also kept the Wormley name. It was also the location where they decided who would be president. So coming up on the left is the new Smithsonian. Coming up on the right is the Smithsonian Museum from African American History and Culture. Right. You have 4 flights above ground of cultural exhibits, and below ground there are 4. No, let's go straight and turn down. Yeah, because then we'll pass a few things going to the MLK. So, yeah. We're coming out. For Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States, also the signer of the Declaration of Independence. He died on the 4th of July, on the same day as Adams, a president who didn't always agree with Jefferson. They actually died on the same 4th of July, and they're both signers on the Declaration of Independence. It was said that Adams said that he's sorry he didn't outlive Jefferson, who had died earlier that day, and he didn't know. So the Jefferson Memorial is set up to look a lot like you see, they're working on it now, so it's actually closed, but it's set up to look a lot like the University of Virginia, which he built. Jefferson's responsible for UVA in Charlottesville, Virginia, also where his home was, Monticello, in
you can get in the space. I'm Virginia. Meet you too. Yes, it's nice and warm, but it will get hot in a minute. So welcome to Frederick Douglass's house. As I mentioned out on the front porch, I am Virginia. Feel free to ask me questions as we go throughout the tour of the home. All right. So this was Frederick Douglass's home for the last 17 years of his life. Frederick Douglass buys his house in 1877. He's making a pretty big purchase. He buys the home for $6,700. Today that would be about $1.3 million. So Frederick Douglass is pretty wealthy when he's buying this home. He has a lot of things that are going on in his life that kind of leads him here to Washington, D.C. He had just lost his home in Rochester, New York, so he's starting over. He also is shifting his career focus. You know, most of us associate Douglass with that Civil War and abolitionist movement, but at this point in time, Douglass is becoming a politician. He realizes that D.C. is where he needs to be in order to get these prestigious presidential appointed jobs that he was in line to acquire. So Douglass, while he's living here, is first appointed U.S. Marshal for the District of Columbia, then he's appointed Recorder of Deeds for the District of Columbia, and then General Counsel, or what we would call Ambassador to Haiti. So Douglass is in this mover and shaker crowd. He has a constant flow of people who just want to really come in and out of the home together with him. The room that we're in right now is the room that he would do that gathering in. This is his formal living room. So throughout this home, the National Park Service has the pleasure of not only being the stewards of the house shell, we are also the stewards of all these items. Pretty much everything that you're looking at inside of this home belongs to Frederick Douglass. The year that we lay out the house is 1895 because that's the last year that he's living here in the home. Now, as I mentioned, the time that Douglass is living inside his house, people would come to visit him, but this is also the Victorian era. And so we're about to go on this grand tour of Douglass's house, go upstairs, look in the bedrooms. During the Victorian era, it was a sign of bad etiquette to ask to walk through someone's home. So this is Douglass's first opportunity to show individuals that he is the true man of that era. So this room is kind of being seen as like kind of a show space for Douglass to really kind of show people that African Americans were able to be these accomplished individuals. So throughout this home, you will see lots of individuals on the wall. This is just simply how they decorate their home during the Victorian era. They have placed people that were significant in history, also people who were significant to them. Now, the National Park Service has chosen to highlight Douglass's wives on the parlor in this space. They would not have come here when Douglass lived here because back then they kept their private lives separate from their public. But we hang them here because it's very hard to tell Douglass's story without them being a big part of it. Now, across from us is Douglass's first wife, Anna. That's his wife for 44 years. Anna and Douglass do meet each other when Douglass is still enslaved. Anna's actually a free woman. She's the first child born to her mother and father who was free. She helps Douglass escape from slavery. They go on to be married for 44 years. They have 5 children with each other. 4 survive to adulthood. And 3 of those 4 children are responsible for 21 grandchildren who are frequently coming in to visit him. Now, a lot of people kind of see this house as being a gift to Anna because she's that woman that's behind the scenes, known to pick up jobs when need be to support the household. She's also left home alone quite a bit to raise those children because Douglass is out traveling on behalf of the abolitionist movement. But by the time that they get here, she's pretty sickly. She has rheumatism and had a stroke right before moving here. So Douglass knows that the time is going to be limited here with her. And then 18 months after her death, Douglass does decide to get married again. Now, his second wife, Helen, is on the wall behind you there. Now, Douglass's marriage to Helen was pretty controversial for that time period. Helen is a white woman who's also 20 years younger than him. So that would have sparked a lot of conversation. Now, this is a point in history where blacks and whites getting married to each other in most states was illegal. It was not illegal for them to get married here in Washington, D.C., because remember, D.C. is not a state. We operate via, or they, for that time, operated via federal laws. And so they do not commit any crimes, but people were still kind of outraged with Douglass deciding to marry Helen. Not only were outside people kind of dealing with this issue, his children were dealing with the issue too, but their biggest issue was the age difference. That 20 years meant she was in close age to them. His eldest daughter, Rosetta, and Helen were like a year apart in age. So that created a lot of conflicts and conversation. Now, Douglass really feels like he should be able to do whatever he chooses. Him and Helen are pretty compatible. She's the daughter of abolitionists. She's part of the women's suffrage movement. She loved to travel. And so Douglass is really drawn to her because of those similarities. Now, throughout this lower part of the home, you will notice in all of the rooms there is some type of image of Frederick Douglass. For instance, in this space, there's this large portrait of him depicting him as U.S. Marshal for the District of Columbia. Frederick Douglass has this unique place in history. He's known as the most photographed man of his time period. There are over 160 images of Frederick Douglass. Douglass is really seeing how African Americans are being depicted very negatively in images, and he felt like by him being seen as a spokesperson for African Americans, that he can kind of help change that narrative. You'll also notice in all the images that you will come across of Douglass inside of his home, or that you will come across of Douglass in general, he's in a suit and tie, which was done deliberately by him. He really, like I said, is trying to change that narrative that they have for African Americans. Now through the doorway there, feel free to step in and look around. That is Douglass's study space. That is where he would spend about 5 hours every day, because remember, when Douglass is living here, he's working. So at the desk, he would have written a lot of speeches. He also would have penned his third and final autobiography in the space. Up on the walls, you can see a little bit over 200 of Douglass's over 2,000 books that he owned. You can see in the corner his walking sticks, his hats, and his glasses. Up on the walls, you can see lots of photographs. As I mentioned, this is just simply how they decorate their home back then. But Douglass would often utilize these photos to kind of go down memory lane with guests. Each and every one of those individuals on the wall, Douglass had some type of connection with, and you could talk to guests about that connection. Once you look in the space, come on out. We're going to look across the hall into Douglass's other living room area. Sorry. His house in 1880 standards. So the first room that you're going to walk through is pantry. On the shelves, you'll see canned goods and preserved goods. They're not Douglass's, but they are here to represent the fact that he did have 15 acres around him, so he could crop seasonally for house consumption and animal consumption. As you continue to walk through Douglass's pantry, we're going to loop around and we'll end up in Douglass's laundry. In this country during that point, you have the women's suffrage movement happening. You also have child labor issues happening in this country, and so really thanks to those two reasons, we have a lot of our modern conveniences inside of our homes today. Bedrooms, in spaces that would kind of double as rooms for like his grandchildren. Remember, travel was very different back then with modes of travel. Also, this is a segregated cut up. To the right is the men's formal guest bedroom. Across the hall is the women's formal guest bedroom. Now in each room you will see conveniently on the floor there is a chamber pot. There's also a wash pan and pitcher. That's how they're taking care of business inside of the home. During this point in history, men and women seldom stayed in the same room publicly. Has a lot to do with that whole concept of modesty. We're going to move on down the hall. We can see some additional rooms. These three rooms are the rooms of the people who called this their home. So the first room to the left is Anna's room, his first wife space. If you look at Anna's room, you'll see that there is a large chair over in the corner to the left. It is called an invalid chair, so people call it a wheelchair. Douglass purchases that chair for Anna to make things a little bit easier for her.
You should let Next song on the playlist. Next song on the playlist.
Any requests to the back of the bus?
Any requests? Any requests?
So where was y'all yesterday when I was singing by myself?
I think I was here.
I'm over here singing.
I think I was asleep.
Oh, Drake. Nobody was there.
You want to come back? I think we were sleeping.
That's nice.
Kermit, relocate. Come on, Kermit, relocate.
Out of tears, so done with wishing she was still here. Said I'm so sick of love song, so sad and slow. Why can't I get off the radio? Gotta change that.
This is the atrium.
And when you get closer, the little rocks. Alright, first time trying sushi. We got Haley, Preston, Ariel.
Sushi, me, Preston, Ariel, my
Jay.
bro.
Sep. Double
You my bro.
recording.
You're not Jay anymore. You're my bro.
My rice just pumped.
Alright, ready? 1, 2.
You two first. Or you three. You guys? You like it. She don't like it. What about you, Preston? Middle ground. Alright.
Wait, you really don't?
She don't like it.
I got bread for you if you want to keep your donut fresh. Which one do you got?
No, vertical. In the other way.
Gosh.
Really, Preston?
It's funny.
No,
You're the one
turn
who
it.
wanted it, but you don't like it.
Alright, here we go.
It's cheaper for everybody.
I might like the crab only.
Remember headset on this?
Wait, did you not eat it when we made it?
No.
He was
We're
recording.
recording.
Wait, did you put wasabi on it? Wasabi's the best
Here, you
part.
can have, I just want to try it with the crab.
Are you gonna take out the avocado?
I like it.
I want to try the crab.
It kind of tastes like.
Alright guys, this is the end of the video. I just want to tell you this trip was so much fun. Just the mentors, mentees, hanging out in Washington. And just so much fun. And plus, you know, we got to miss a few days of school. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Peace.